Good afternoon. This is the Marion, City of Marion, the work session for Tuesday, September 1, 2015. And leading off, we have finance, sir. We have a presentation.
Leanne from my department, Your Honor, is going to be here to give a brief presentation.
What we're doing with this resolution is actually taking existing funds that we have and splitting them out into areas that we believe make more sense. For instance, right now we are tracking hotel motel funds through an Excel spreadsheet right now, so we are going to break out the general fund so that you have the general fund and the hotel motel fund. Another huge area is the trust and agency fund. Right now we take in a number of different revenues that go into this fund, and so again, for tracking purposes, we would like to split this fund into several funds. They include still a generic trust and agency special revenue fund, which would still have the grants and the property tax money that flow through that fund. Then we would split out the actual Swamp Fox into its own fund, the Canine unit into its own fund, and the asset forfeiture into its own fund. And then we would like to take the TIF fund and split it out by urban renewal area. This actually is driven by the state report, because when I fill out a state report, I have to do it by urban renewal area. Ergo, I need a beginning and ending balance each fiscal year for that fund. And currently I'm doing that all through an Excel spreadsheet as well. And finally, we would like to create a fleet maintenance fund for the Public Services Department. The Public Services Department right now maintains the vehicles for many departments in the general fund. And so by creating a fleet maintenance fund, that allows Brian to go ahead and expense his expenses right away and then bill the departments appropriately. Are there any questions regarding the changes we would like to make? Thank you.
Are these better changes?
What?
Are these better changes?
These are better changes for us, because right now we are basically tracking a lot of the finances outside of our financial software. So it would not be seen in any report we would print for you. These are separate Excel spreadsheets.
Go ahead.
I know at the budget time we talked about getting new software. Have you guys actually transitioned to that, or?
We're actually in the process of working on it right now. And I have been starting to give you updates in our department report.
Yeah, I saw a little bit about
We
that.
are just finishing up on the chart of accounts and started just this last week working on purchasing and inputting our policies into this program.
Okay.
But yeah, if you read our departmental reports, I have been trying to include a cover page that updates the council on where we're at with that project.
All right.
Okay.
So by the time we do the budget, then you think it'll be rolling then?
It will be rolling for the budget portion. The financial portion we're not foreseeing being done until late winter, early spring.
Okay.
That's why there's not a definite date on when these funds are split, because the best time to do it is when we get into the new software.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
So, are you looking forward to that line?
Very much so. But this is really one of the first things that we've had where we're going to be able to take advantage of that new software. You know, instead of looking at, for example, all of the TIF districts together in one TIF fund, we'll be able to separate them out and run reports directly from the software instead of having to do everything manually and track it outside of the budgeting software the way that we're doing right now. There'll be, I think, probably more changes to the way the budget presents as we go forward based on this. The hard thing is going to be is it may be difficult to do comparisons from what we used to do to what's coming out of the new system, but at the same time what comes out of the new system is going to be a lot more clear and have a lot more detail.
Okay. Very good.
Number 2 on our agenda, this is the agreement with Verizon Wireless. The council has been briefed in the past regarding this project, and essentially it is the City of Marion and Verizon Wireless partnering together to co-locate their cellular infrastructure on city-owned street lights. This is kind of an illustration of what that may look like, but obviously we're going to allude to more of a black pole. These will be located outside of the main, I would say, downtown district on the side streets. We're also setting a public hearing for the 17th. The purpose of that is basically what you're approving or will be up for approval Thursday is the master agreement That defines the terms and conditions of the project. But each and every individual location will also have to be approved by the council. So on the 17th, the council will be able to approve each individual location as to where these may go. When that comes around, you'll get the information as to exact location specifications, things of that nature. What you're going to be up for approval on Thursday is the terms and conditions of the contract, and basically it comes down to a 15-year term. They've agreed to compensate the city $300 per month to locate their assets on city light poles. They'll be responsible for maintaining their infrastructure on the light poles, and then the city will maintain the light pole itself and the lighting. So, any questions on that?
I had one.
Sure.
If no one else did. If the pole is damaged, say from an accident or lightning or whatever, who replaces their equipment and the pole? And
Their equipment is obviously the liability of themselves, and so the way should have a copy of that agreement in the
now, I
council
looked
packet.
in there and I couldn't find where it said
Yep.
that part about it.
There is indemnification on both parties.
Okay.
And so we're not responsible for their equipment. The only thing we're responsible for is the lighting infrastructure, the pole and the light.
But they are buying the pole, though, aren't they?
No, they are not.
That's
The way
right.
we're facilitating this, they'll lease it back through the city.
Yeah.
So it'll be a
okay.
city-owned asset.
So after they've done it, then the city owns it.
Right.
Okay.
Right?
So it's our nickel for the pole and theirs to replace their equipment.
Yeah, and we're going to work it out to where basically we won't see any capital upfront expenditures. That's the way we're going to work it out. They're going to upfront a lot of the lease payment. Therefore, the project should go along pretty smoothly.
All right, thanks.
Okay, thank you. That's all I had, unless there's questions on anything else.
Sure. We had a question about water. Was it water? Yes. Do we have anything in tonight's agenda about water charges, water meter charges, or anything?
The sewer ordinance is on.
Just
the agenda.
that's a
Sure.
sewer. Is it? We're talking about sewer this evening.
Sewer or water?
Not water meters per apartments.
Yeah.
We're not talking about water meters in apartments and motorhome parks.
The sewer rates is
We're
up
just
for
talking about the sewer rate
consideration.
this evening, and that
Yep.
I don't think that's. We had a sidebar earlier and talked about that.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll tell you. Why don't you come back Thursday? And we'll address that at the start of the meeting. Is that all right?
Okay.
Is that all right? She had a question and then.
Yeah, it's just that I have a fourplex with one hookup.
Yep.
And I'm already being charged phantom charges for three of my apartments, because the city charges each apartment as a separate entity, even though I only have one hookup.
Oh, I could visit with you if you'd like to.
Okay.
We can go over it.
Okay, so you'll chat.
Yep.
Okay,
I'll go
fine.
out real quick.
That's great. Then we'll
Yep.
take care of it. We
Yep.
can move on. Thank you.
Good.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, item number 4 is just accepting of a payment for the 35th Avenue Sanitary Sewer Project hookup fee. So typically what we do is a lot of our trunk mains, we install a large sanitary sewer, and then in order to hook onto that sanitary sewer for us to reimburse those, there's a hookup fee. This individual just wants to pay the fee now rather than when they actually hook up, because there's a 5% annual interest rate that's added to that. So all they're doing is paying it now rather than later. Item 5, basically we had the bidding for the sanitary sewer slip lining project, and we got really good prices on this project. And so we had a budget of $200,000, and so because the prices came in so well, we actually asked the contractor if they would add 2 additional locations to the project, and they agreed to do that, and that's the $11,162.65 to add 2 additional locations. What the sanitary sewer slip lining project is our old clay lines have a lot of infiltration, and so we basically line the inside of the sewer to stop that infiltration. So especially with us going to the flow-based metering system with Cedar Rapids, this is something that's important to do, so we're trying to use available funds for that. So. And then item number 6 is establishment of no parking zone on the south side of 2nd Avenue from 27th to 31st. On Thursday, you will have some citizens that live in that area that will want to talk about that. It is our recommendation that you establish no parking on one side of the street for garbage and fire and such. It's easier to get those big vehicles through the street if there's only parking on one side. If there's parking on both sides, sometimes they have a hard time getting through the street. And any new construction projects that we do, we actually put no parking on one side. I don't know if Deb wants to talk to that at all, or wait till Thursday. Okay.
So the people that are coming will want to leave parking on both sides?
I can't speak for them, but I'm assuming you're going to hear that, yeah, they don't want us to put up no parking. They want parking on both sides of the street.
Well, considering the fact that for some reason, one side parks in a certain place and the other side parks exactly opposite, and you can't get through. And is there some kind of a magnet that are on these vehicles or what?
No, they want to park
just
close
feel
to their house.
lonely, or, you know.
How long has this street existed?
Um,
60? I mean, why is this only becoming a problem now?
Because Mary Lou brought it up.
Because I got a call from a lady who lives on that street close to the exit of Francis Marion School, and people could not get through when when the children get picked up or brought to school, or there's some special thing at school, and the garbage trucks can't get through. In fact, they even want School Street added with one side parking, and that came from somebody that was picking up trash.
a lot of our old parts of town, we allow parking on both sides of the street just because it wasn't an issue, but kind of as they become an issue or as we do a reconstruction project.
But what I'm saying is, why weren't they an issue before? Why is it now an issue? I mean, are the garbage trucks bigger now or something, or the fire trucks, or?
Street hasn't changed.
I mean, I don't understand why it's just now being an issue.
Because parents are taking their kids to school and picking them up.
But they haven't done that for 60 years?
No, they were neighborhood schools,
Oh.
and kids walked to school. They rode their bikes.
Okay.
And now, since they have to come from,
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying there isn't a reason. I'm just trying to understand what the reason is.
No.
Could I back up to number 5 for just a minute? I didn't, we always hate to see change orders. Tell me again why that was
So
necessary.
what we did is our bid came in really well for this project. We got
Right.
really good bid numbers. And so it came in, I believe it was like 70% of my estimate. And so we have $200,000 that are allocated towards this project every year. So we want to get as much done as we can. So with that, we were able to add 2 additional locations
So you're
to the
having more
project.
work.
So
Okay.
we're doing more work
Okay.
and still staying under budget.
I was just hopeful they weren't trying to spend that other 30%.
No, there's additional
you.
areas that they are agreeing to do with the unit prices that
So
we
you actually
we
have more work for them to do.
Right, so it's similar to last year with the HMA project where we had good bid numbers there, and so we added South 12th to the project. And so when we can do that, we obviously want to bring it to you guys because we're changing the scope of the project that you guys approved. That's why we're bringing it back to you guys so that you can see that.
Thank you.
Since you're talking about sewer projects, whatever happened with the sewer change for down past Q Dogs and that automotive?
So we ended up installing a manhole that got installed down there, and as far as I know, there haven't been any issues since.
Okay, so they went to what is a 6-inch or larger?
We didn't change the size of the line. All we did was install a manhole so that sewer could make the bend easier.
You have a clean out on it now.
Yep.
right?
Yeah, so it hasn't been an issue since that's been.
I have not heard of anything, no.
Okay, thanks.
Anything else? All right.
Oh, I have one question. We had a letter with a complaint on 29th Street up by 35th. There was a bump in the road or something like that, and it rattled the house. Do you remember that?
Oh, on 29th Avenue?
29th Avenue?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's at 35th Street.
Okay. Do you have any update on that? Do you know anything about that?
No, I guess I don't. I'm not sure
Because
about
I
that.
haven't heard anything.
The pavement is,
35th?
Have the same thing on Lucor Road.
It was Lucor Road.
No, this was a lady.
a lady came and,
Okay.
it's on 29th Avenue, right by before you
The
get
guy
there.
on Lucor came as well, though.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
If it's outside of the scope of the engineering project, though, that would be a question for Ryan.
Yeah, it'd be, Ryan is the one.
Public
that would-
service, be a maintenance
See
issue.
what you
Yeah,
get when
right,
you
there
leave
he
the
is.
room?
Ryan, we were talking about, a lady came in and talked about 29th Avenue. There was a bump around. Go
I
ahead, sir.
went out and we visited with her, and soon as, I told her, I said, we'll probably work around that project out there. I told her if it's not this year, we'll definitely get this year. I did speak with her, did see the trucks go by. One thing I did inform her is that she can look forward to the traffic slowing down. She's not going to have that slamming of the traffic because the roundabout will be there to slow it down. But we're going to get in there and do some patchwork here in the next 8 months probably. So.
And a second item,
Lucor Road had the fellow come in that lived in a condo right by Camden Farms there. And as I remember, he said when the big trucks go over that sewer, it actually shakes, or feels like his house is shaking.
Yep, a lot of that road in particular, and especially 29th Avenue, that pavement's right on the glacial till. And if you remember McGowan, if you get any type of heavy traffic, it's going to vibrate directly to the foundations. They're going to feel everything. I believe you guys had that Lucor Road in the CIP here in the next few years.
I think so.
Well,
It's
the
going
road
to
is-
take a full.
I think the road is asphalt there, and I think the sewer thing is concrete around it.
Yeah, but once you do a repaving project out there, that'll remedy that.
right, great. Well, thank you. Great. Good.
May
You're
I
on.
add a perspective
Yes.
to the no parking? You asked about years ago it not being a problem. Since I've been on the department for the past 25 years, I've noticed more parking on all of our streets. And I think a lot of it's due to more cars per family, and we've noticed a big growth in it. So we have noticed more of a problem getting through streets since I first started on the department. And I don't know if that's just my personal perspective, but I think that might be some of the problem.
Good to have that perspective. Thank you.
And they add cattle, railroad ties to the front of your engine so you can just plow through.
Good idea. Oh, I like that.
Can you handle the legal for us, Don?
Cow catchers even, like on trains used to be,
I'll add another mix to the conversation on the parking on the streets, and that is that our streets are currently 28 feet wide. So if you peel the parking off one side of the street, let's say it's 8 feet. If you want to say it's wide, it's 10 feet. That's 20-foot clear area on a residential street. If we're going to continue to not have parking on one side of the street, our streets can be substantially narrower. If you're going to have at all times, over, up to and possibly over that 20 feet of clear area. So just something to think about. It's just more impervious area. It's just more paving, more cost of development, so on and so forth.
I
So-
would leave them at 20, because people, it says no parking, and here they are underneath that sign, and parking.
Yeah.
So I would not mess with the width.
I'd rather tow them because it's just, it also, the wider the streets, the faster you're going to go. So, anyway, would you like me to get going?
Please.
There's first two items, and they're under the receive and file, and they're starred Eagle Park 5th Edition and Blair's Ferry Senior. These are the final site development plans. These are going to the Planning and Zoning Commission. I don't know if you want me to go through these tonight. You got a memo on them. We'll be back when they come from P&Z into the City Council. So, if you want to hear anything on those, I don't know that there need to be talked about.
Didn't see them when they come from there.
Yeah, they'll be followed up on. First item, number C, then on the next page, is Arbor at Lindale Trail Final Site Development Plan. This is the senior housing project that we've been working through for some time now on Blair's Ferry Road, west of Lindale. So this is the one that's further up. The other one is down closer to Casey's.
Is the Casey's project still viable?
It is. It's moving forward. As a matter of fact, it's going to go to the Planning and Zoning Commission. You'll get a recommendation out of them after their meeting next week. So that's moving forward. The final site development plan for this project is as follows. There was a detailed staff report on that. So the parking's out in front, Blair's Ferry Road here. The building's an L-shaped. There was a question on the fire access. That's been handled. I believe the fire chief's been in contact with them directly to make sure that that's all handled correctly. And so the site plan's pretty straightforward. They're parking. They're doing 1.5 spaces per unit. So I don't know if there's any questions specific to the project itself, but I think we've talked about this one quite a few times. So
I had a question, Tom, on
Sure.
On the parking. You said this is a seniors housing, right?
Correct.
So the parking is there access into the building, or will there be like a pull-up where they can let people out, or?
Yeah,
I mean, it looks far away from where they're going to actually go into the building.
yeah. So the entrance would be in this vicinity, so they'd walk. Yeah.
Yeah. But
It's not covered.
it's not covered,
No,
or?
no. It's covered out to the sidewalk edge, but not. You don't pull under an area for the parking.
Yes. I mean, I guess I'm being nitpicky, but wouldn't it be better if it had some protected coverway?
It may be, but that's kind of up to them from a design perspective. I don't know that we've ever regulated the covered parking portion of it.
It just looks like it's a long ways for, especially if they have to park way out to the one end there. That's a pretty good walk, and
Yeah.
so we don't have any rules for that.
No, we don't have anything that regulates the site design of it in that manner.
Yeah, just how it looks and the materials.
We do have material coverage rules. That's correct. Yep.
Isn't it odd that there's no paved access, or it doesn't look like there's paved access to the back area?
There is.
Oh,
It's
there
around
is.
the edge. It's on the west side.
Oh,
There's actually a walking trail, and they've incorporated the paved access into the walking trail and around.
but you can't drive back there.
You won't be able to drive a vehicle there unless there's an emergency. You'll be able to get back in there.
Okay, so there would.
Yeah,
in
yeah.
an
For emergency services,
Okay.
that was what was required.
Okay, that's
was
what
it-
I was.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Yep. And they incorporated that surface just like they did at not Scott Meadows, but Summit Point. If you notice, that's a wide enough area that you can vehicle back there.
Good infill project.
Does Summit Point, do they have a covered?
They do.
I think it's quite large.
Yeah. Well, that's something we ought to add to our building things, I think. Just on this type of project anyway. Having it open like that's not good.
Yeah.
On Village Place, has it, but the other one doesn't.
Right.
The one up on top has it, but the one down below doesn't have
Right.
it covered.
Correct. And this is senior housing, so I mean it's 55 and older, so it doesn't have a lot of some of them have a nursing care or skilled assisted nursing care or memory care associated with them too, and that's not what this is. Essentially a senior housing apartments.
They're not gonna have the medical section.
Correct. That's not a part of the project. No,
Right.
no. So you won't have folks that maybe have all those issues. Anybody over 55 that meets the income requirements will be able to be there. But I do understand what you mean. I mean, I could see where that would be a benefit by all means.
Well, I was thinking if, somebody in a wheelchair and you leave them there to go park the car.
Yeah. Well, there's a canopy off so there is a canopy up into the sidewalk. You just don't drive under.
Yeah, okay.
Dave, I don't know if when you were sitting down with them specifically, did that issue come up or?
I mean, they implied this is Dave.
Exercise
Stood
day.
up, I thought he was coming.
I
was
did
like,
too.
Yeah, they've implied it's it's an active seniors. These are not retired folks. This is just age restricted. They have a small canopy off the front door, but it's like no other. It's like every other apartment complex in town. It doesn't address covered parking like we wouldn't make anybody else do. They don't have any of the senior programs. They got some common rooms for the folks that live there, but again, they might be doing some programs, hosting some programs for the residents there, but it's not not an assisted, not a nursing home. These are active, working, income restricted seniors. So.
Okay. Well, it just seemed odd. You know, someone like Mary Lou that's so sweet, she'd be melted by the time if it was raining.
Oh, my God. What do you want?
Thanks, Tom.
yep, no problem. It's a good point, though, on the canopy. I tend to agree with you on that. The next item, number 3 and 4, are related, and these are it's Country Club Estates 12th edition. This project I think this plat has probably been before the council more times than any plat we've ever seen. So the developer has came in and changed the project for some duplexes a few years back, and now there's about 6 lots left, and they're really combining lots and providing for single-family lots on those. The duplexes just didn't turn around like they had hoped, and so now they're going back to the single-family. There's multifamily west of here, and then I would see it going east will be single-family residential. This is a part of Country Club's Estate Addition. It's a larger preliminary plat in which here's kind of how it's being built out. So Albernet Road, Bent Creek, come down. So here's where you can see that they went to duplexes. There's other duplexes along here. And then these are duplexes along the north. And so they put them in here, and then they're proposing to change to single family. As you can see, there's single family along the north side, so they'll extend that single family down. Any questions on that? Pretty straightforward. And the other project that's on the agenda, Country Club Estates, I think Todd Frazier, which was Country Club Estates 10th edition, which is also on the agenda, are these final plat, this area and an area up north. So this is an area that we're seeing a lot of growth right now, a lot of building permits being issued out there. If you drive up Irish Drive, and recall the city worked with the developer to get that road in ahead of time. This is probably the hottest area right now for building permit activity.
So Tom, did they take 2 lots and turn it into 4 private or individual homes?
They're taking 6 and turning it into 3.
3.
So they're combining 2 lots. And so that'll look like, this was the previous plan. You can see the units.
Oh, there was 3, okay.
And then what they're going to do, it'll look like that.
Okay.
And that really covers 3, 4, 5, and 6. Number 9. Morris Wood. If you'll recall, at the last meeting, there was a request for a building permit prior to final plat for Jim Stone's development. Since that time, we've received an additional request for 5 permits. I guess this would be kind of how it sits. Lucor, Tower Terrace, and the locations of those are identified. So the roads will not be in, but they're requesting to have the permits prior to that. this is quite a few, and there's a lot, they're kind of spread out. I don't know if, have you guys, has Fire seen this for review? Okay. Let me check with a couple other departments before we give a full report on it for Thursday. We'll put it on for regular, if that makes sense.
Good.
Okay. They're kind of spread out. Usually when we get these, they're at the end of a street, stub street, where there's access directly to the unit. So if a worker gets hurt, it's going to be difficult for access. So I think I need to get this one back in front of a couple other people. That work for council?
Very well.
And I'm now going to turn it over to Dave, who has been working through the sidewalk process relative to deferrals, resolution necessities, and then, as the council's aware, I'm sure you've received a few phone calls on the letters that have been received regarding necessity to put in sidewalks. And we've been presenting over the last actually the last couple months on kind of our evaluation of what the requests have come in on. So there you are, Dave.
I've broken these down into really 4 groupings for the council. First item was going to be item 11, it's A and B. These are sidewalks we are recommending deferral of. They've submitted requests, the developers submitted requests for these sidewalks to be deferred, so not installed at this time. And I'll just briefly go over those. And these are all in the staff report. This is part of the Bowman Woods edition, or Skogman one. They have 1 lot remaining in this cul-de-sac. It's this lot right here, sidewalk gap. Lot's not very wide up front, so if they build a building on there, that whole sidewalk's going to be likely destroyed in this case. They have built a house here. The other problem is it's a low-traffic cul-de-sac, and the sidewalks stop here, and they stop here, so they literally go nowhere out of this development. We're going to have to work with the developer and the city to make some more additional connections in the future. So again, being on a cul-de-sac, very low traffic, 1 lot left. We're recommending deferral of this one. If sidewalk connections were existing on East Robbins Road, we'd probably require it. But I suspect this lot will be taken down next year with a house. So I think this will go away next year, but we'll revisit it again next year if that's the case. The second one we're recommending deferral on is actually several lots. This is Duckhorn Cove off Lucor up in Hunter's Ridge. We have 8 condo units or 4 buildings on the bulb. We have no sidewalks to the entire development, all the way to Lucor and down. We are recommending deferral, again, for same reasons. This is a little modified, but recommending deferral of all the sidewalks shown in red, cul-de-sac, low traffic. There's a fairly good safe street to walk in at this point. Then get them to Lucor Road. That's a different issue I'll talk about in a minute. But we are recommending deferral of those sidewalks as well. Kyle Skogman did submit a letter a while back. That's back in your packet. I suspect he'll be here Thursday night to address it as well. So any questions on the deferral portion? Okay. Second portion was kind of a deferral with, or really deferral with conditions. This is back at Duckhorn Cove, the lot we just looked at. We have really 2 things going on here. There's these 2 lots on the corner. This is Lucor Road. We are recommending deferral of this last little section here on this north face of the lot. But we are recommending requiring the installation of sidewalk from really Duckhorn Cove from the street tying into the sidewalk at Lucor Road. Now there are some gaps further down on Lucor. I'm going to address that in the next cycle, starting hopefully in December. So by late next year, we'll have sidewalks all the way down Lucor and kind of into Hunter's Ridge to kind of bridge some of those gaps that exist. So this is a kind of a modified. We are recommending deferral, but we are asking for this installation here. And all these sidewalks I'm talking about, these were all, the developer has agreed to install all these sidewalks if the council passes a resolution of necessity. That's what they did 20 years ago, 15, 20 years ago when we approved the development. So this is well within the council's right to request these, and the developer should know these. The next batch, there's several of them, and I'll go very quickly. These are all sidewalks that they have all submitted a letter for, requested deferral for a variety of reasons. I presented these all, maybe a month ago. Everywhere from I'm going to sell the lot next year to I don't want to build sidewalks, I don't want to bust it out. These lots are almost all 15 to 20 years old, or they're lots in high traffic areas that are newer, but we've gotten repeated requests on to have a sidewalk installed. And again, these are all, can all be installed with resolution of necessity per the agreements. I'll go again quickly. McGowan Boulevard, this is owned by Mr. Dyer. He has requested the deferral of the McGowan sidewalks, and he'd be willing to install the Monarch sidewalk, I think that is, north-south. Going out there, there's a visible pedestrian path on the grass. You can look at the aerials, and you can even see them. McGowan Boulevard's pretty busy. We're recommending installing all of those. And again, he submitted the letter and it's attached in there. Second batch, this is up in Hunter's Ridge. It's a single lot subdivision. The lot's for sale. It just hasn't sold for a variety of reasons. Probably being a double-fronted lot, a little odd-shaped. Mr. Verhilly has requested a deferral on this sidewalk as well. Unlike McGowan, this is just not a busy street. It's probably fairly safe to walk in due to the levels of traffic, but it's a 15-plus-year-old lot that's just kind of hanging out there with lack of sidewalk, and we are recommending approval of that one. Third. I'm sorry, Joe.
You said an approval of the waiver or
approval of the sidewalk installation.
Yeah.
Approval of the resolution of necessity.
Yeah, okay.
I'm sorry, I misspoke there.
Just wanted to make sure what you were...
Yep. This is along Indian Creek. There are several here. Marion Christian Church is just off to the bottom of the page. It's a sidewalk gap, over 15 years old. Sidewalk's been installed to this point and to the north, and there's a few more gaps to the north. There's no sidewalk on the east side. We're running into old development. We're running into Indian Creek Country Club that's been there since the 30s. No sidewalk on that side. We do have some opportunity to complete the gap on Indian Creek, which is pretty important. I mean, it does carry a lot of foot traffic. If you go out there, they've even indicated, the guy who's indicated he mows the grass. He even snow blows it so people can walk through it. So it's obviously being used. Then we have, this is showing only 2 more gaps on Indian Creek, but there's a third one right here that's on the request as well. Filling in these gaps as well. Again, both owners have requested a deferral, but we're recommending installation of sidewalk. These are all, these are about 10 years old, these lots here. Newer, but I get multiple requests a year to have the sidewalk installed here. And if you go out there again, you're going to see the path, and you look at the aerial, you're going to see the path and the grass. So it's being used, and the school is just to the north. These 3 sidewalks here, and the one to the south, that will complete all of Indian Creek.
And the school is half a block away.
Half a block away, and there are students that do pull from that area, I believe. The final one, this is the newest of the bunch. It's 8 years old, 9 years old. This is in Stonefield Edition. Not the current owner, but the previous owner built this house here and bought the adjacent lot next to him. They kept it as a separate lot, so they never had to put a sidewalk in until a building permit got pulled. They've sold the house, they've sold the lot to the new individual. This one does get moderate use. It's near the schools, but I get almost monthly calls now from the neighborhood to get that sidewalk done in there. It's just the remaining one. The homeowner is basically using it as their yard, but they've indicated they'd like another year to install it as well. But we are recommending approval of requiring the sidewalk installation for all of them. We ran late into the season. I got a little behind, so we're running late into the season to get concrete guys out there now. We are recommending have them installed by, I think it was June 30th in my report of next year. That gives them the whole.
Did you show I?
That would be, my last one. Yeah, I'll go with that one. This is the last one. This is the one that never submitted a request for deferral. They contacted the mayor last week, I guess it was, or earlier this week. They have begun the process of installing the sidewalk. The deadline was yesterday to have it done. They've started that grading, I believe, for the sidewalk. So I'd be asking for the resolution of necessity to install it, but I suspect it will be done next week and it'll be a moot point, but I'd like to make sure we cover our bases on
Yeah,
this.
that's no problem.
Yeah.
It'll be done.
Yeah, this is the old farmhouse out there that never had it in. So we are asking for installation by June 30th of next year, I believe it is. That gives them time to actually get concrete guys out there to work. It's just too late in the season to do it now to find people that can do it. So they either have to have it done by June 30th, or if they pull a building permit, that kind of shows that when they complete the house, then they have to have the sidewalk. So that sidewalk may come after June 30th next year if they have a building permit pulled. I suspect several will get done that way, the way they're talking. But these are the first phase of gaps. We're going to see next section come down next year. These will be lots between 10 and 15 years old. We're going to tackle. I'm going to start those in December, so hopefully we can actually have them done next year instead of getting a tardy start on it and having to push it to next year. So, and there will be. I think everybody will be here on these letters. Well, everybody will be here Thursday. I think they'd all have a quick chance to plead their case for the sidewalk on Thursday night.
Dave, the one that you had on Indian Creek Road.
Yes, sir.
That was right by the bridge.
Yes.
That city owns, does the city still own that lot?
Yeah, the city still owns this lot here. This was the old garage was torn down.
Yeah.
The parks operated out of it. So yeah, we own this lot. There's a weird parcel left over that the city owns as well, and that's sidewalk to right about here, already installed. So
My question, I was looking at the picture. Is that a sidewalk?
yeah, there is a sidewalk through that driveway right there. It's hard to see.
The question is, does it go all the way over
All the way to 10th Street.
10th Street,
Yep.
okay. So they have access to 10th, so if they built that, then they would have
Yeah, this will dump this entire neighborhood down to 10th or up. At least they can get on the sidewalk if they get on the west side. The sidewalk does pick up on the other side, just, I think, north of another farmhouse, just right north of the country club. So the east side of Indian Creek, that's something we got to look at in the future, but at least getting one sidewalk on one side is better than light, I guess, in my opinion.
There's an elevation too, those three houses right
It'll be a
there.
challenge.
Yeah, that would be, you'd have to dig out a bunch of dirt to get it there.
Yep.
And trees, yes.
Yep.
All right, thanks.
All right, any other questions? All right, great.
Did you get Mr. Berridge's letter written there yesterday?
I did. Yes, I did. Got it sent out for the Realtor today.
Okay, good.
Did the council any specific, I mean, I know that was a lot of information. Any specific questions on those? I mean, there's probably going to be folks here on Thursday relative to this. Dave, I don't know if you talked to anyone specifically that was going to be here.
I think they'll all be here.
There's going to be a lot of, I mean, just so the council's aware, there's going to be a lot of questions as to why and where our recommendations are coming from. And I hope you understand what we're trying to do is get these networks connected in certain areas. So,
I mean, the easy ones are where there's a path there already.
yeah, it's really hard to deny that that's not.
Right.
I mean, and if, like Dave said, if it's been 15 years, I know they're going to sell next year. I don't know if that argument works. Anyway, we're not trying to be too difficult, but I think there's been plenty of time given, and in some of these neighborhoods, if you got families trying to walk, their kids, dogs, whatever, and they have to drop down the street, it's just a tough situation.
So, as far as if they have to put in an individual, I know that one where they bought the home and they have to put in the sidewalk on the lot that they bought. What's the payment method for something like that? I mean, is it assessed on their property tax or how do they pay for that?
These will all be required. They'll have to install it all on their own cost, just like they would if they were to construct a home on that lot. Through the city's program, when we go through and do a sidewalk assessment through the engineering department, the city has money in it. The property owners have money into it, and some pay it up front. Some I think it's assessed on the taxes for those projects. But that's a sidewalk assessment program. These are sidewalks that the original developer agreed to install that passes on to every future homeowner. So we might be five homeowners down now from the original developer, but it's an agreement that travels with the property, so they are responsible 100% for the sidewalk and really no city dollars.
So all of these are that way? None of them are?
All of these are all of these are that way. These are all have agreements signed by the original developer and the city council when they approved those final plats 15, 20 years ago. So, and like I said, it passes on to these future homeowners.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
All right, the first item under administration, I wanted to have a discussion with the council on the funding that we're using for the 29th Avenue and 35th Street mini roundabout project. I had a discussion about this with members of the Local Option Sales Tax Committee because they had originally recommended to council that we should use some of those funds for that project. But a couple of things have happened since then. One is, of course, that project has turned into something of a lightning rod with some public opposition to it, and strictly from the standpoint of looking at the local option sales tax and thinking about 8 years in the future, if it's going to be voted on again, perhaps having it linked to too many controversial projects isn't the best thing for that. But the broader issue is that, as the council will remember, in March of this year, the state legislature approved an increase to the road use tax for the first time since 1989. And we've gotten a little bit of bad press about that because some cities immediately used that increase to go out and do things like hire staff. And I know when this was being discussed, particularly in the House of Representatives, one of the things that they were being told was that this was needed to fix roads and fix bridges and do public safety improvements. Even, for example, the money that's going to the DOT, because it's coming through the road use tax, goes out to the DOT's normal split of funds, part of it administration, part of it safety improvements, all these different programs. So it's not all a direct link to physical street improvements. And so what the league would like us to do, and I think it's a good idea, is for us to be able to select specific projects that we're going to use that road use tax for, that we weren't expecting and didn't have budgeted, to do projects around the community and then report them to the league. What they want to be able to do is to go to the legislature next year and say, here's the list of projects that our communities were able to complete with those funds that they were not able to wouldn't have been able to do otherwise. And so for that purpose, I'd like to switch out the local funding on that project from the local option sales tax over to the road use fund instead.
That sounds like a capital idea.
So what
A capital projects idea.
Are you talking about the whole, what is it, 180,000 or no, 220,000 or?
No, we still got the DOT grant in there, so this would just be the local share. The difference between, I think the DOT grant was around 164,000, and the bid, if I remember right, was right around 255, so it'd be about 90,000. When we started receiving the new amount from the state for road use, we were getting about 60,000 extra per month than we were getting before. The other portion of it that is unallocated right now, I'd like to be able to roll into our HMA program, our asphalt overlay program, so that we can do more streets.
So those are funds that are currently unallocated?
Right. Yeah, when we had already done the budget for and set everything for the road use fund when the legislature took action and made that change. So therefore, the revenues and the expenses were both unbudgeted. So we'll have to amend for the revenues portion of it anyway.
Now, it's my understanding that the sale of those houses both have fallen through.
I haven't been briefed by the building department on that recently, but they'll keep us in the loop on what's happening with those.
The fellow that was buying Tom Bullis's lot said that he was told by a house mover that it was impossible to put a house in that location. So that's what I heard.
I got a roundabout to it.
Item number 3 is a resolution approving a contract with the DOT. This is actually 3 separate contracts. We were successful in getting our first round of grant funding from the DOT for doing improvements out at the Marion Airport, and anytime the state is going to give you money, it comes with a contract. We've had Don take a review of it, and I think we've got everything taken care of as far as any concerns that we might have had. We just needed to make sure that all of the assurances in there were either taken care of by us or by our leasehold operator, Luxair Aviation, as part of working through these. But there's 3 different projects. There'll be the completion of the airport layout plan, which is also called an airport development plan. This is really the blueprint that will show how the airport will develop. A lot of the questions that you're getting about what project happens first, how much does each individual piece cost, that will be answered by the creation of the airport development plan. At the same time, we also need to update our land use ordinances and our zoning ordinances to reflect the fact that there's now an airport in the city limits. There hadn't been before, and it was a privately held airport, so for example, there was nothing in the zoning code to protect airspace or anything like that, or protect uses around the airport other than what FAA required. So we'll have to get those on the books. So there'll be 3 separate agreements and 3 separate projects, but they'll be happening concurrently.
What was the third?
The land use plan and the zoning ordinance are both separate contracts. They're separate projects.
Or didn't you say there were 3?
The third one is the airport layout plan, the airport development plan.
I see.
So we received roughly 120-some thousand. Do we match anything, or how's that?
The match in this case is actually being provided through Luxair Aviation for these initial rounds. As we get into some of the capital projects, depending on which one is the most financially advantageous, we will take a look at that. But we anticipate that they'll be able to continue to provide the match for future projects.
So the developer themselves is doing the match for this airport? No.
Yep.
Okay, great. Good. Thank you.
Lon, will that change the roadway in there that maybe we could go and share with Culvers or something?
That will be part of the airport development plan. It'll be something that they'll take a look at, is how do you manage access into and out of the area around it. What we really need to get is, our land use documents for the city included the city limits and then had very broad areas outside of the city into our planning area. This will let us get very specific about what we expect to see around the airport.
Good.
Yeah, for our development, we probably don't want to specify brick and mortar for airplanes.
Wood?
What?
Wood?
Wood. Yeah, wood is good.
Number 4 I had put on there as a placeholder. We met at the staff level with Mr. Stefani last week to continue to work through the exterior design issues that are occurring on the 1204 building. He said he was going to come to council this week. I didn't know if it was Tuesday or Thursday, so I put that there on here in case he came today. Since he is not, I am assuming that he will be here on Thursday. If not, then we will not be taking action on 8 or 9, because we want at the staff level to make sure that the council is comfortable with any proposed changes or alterations that he makes to the exterior of that building before we contemplate entering into a development agreement. Oh, excuse me.
Yeah, it's not
Those
8
are
or 9.
8 or 9 are not related.
No,
They were actually,
that was something else.
yeah. It's number 5 and 6, sorry.
Very well.
Did we not suggest that he go back to planning and zoning?
At this point, if he comes back and says that he's going to go with the approved plans, the ones that we already have on file, there's no reason to go back to planning and zoning because they've already approved those. The last time we met with him, it sounded like that's the direction that we were heading, but we don't have official confirmation on that yet.
So he would remove
Sidewalk
this and the siding,
and the existing stone. Yep, what's already been put on the building.
and he'd go back to the original plan.
Mm-hmm.
So then he wouldn't have to go back to planning and zoning, is it?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nick, for getting that straightened out on the last meeting, too. I appreciate your,
We haven't heard what he wants to do yet, so let's
I know,
wait,
but,
let's wait and see what he says.
yeah.
Numbers 7, 8, and 9 are all related. The council has seen a presentation on what the intent of those agreements are. The numbers that are listed in here are placeholders. We have to provide the school and the other taxing entities with a theoretical maximum. In the case of, for example, the Marion Iron Agreement, we would expect the series of rebates that they would receive to be about $386,000 over around a 16-year period while they phase in to what the full taxes would be on their new facility. But that's all three of those between Marion Iron, Klingler Paint, and then APC Emmerich, the three major relocations out of the Central Corridor.
Marion Iron, are they in full operation at the new facility? Or?
Yes, they are. And number 12, this is part of our well-being initiative. One of the incentives that the Well-Being Committee came up with was for the city to be able to provide Fitbit devices to employees that participate in our well-being program. I'm happy to report that we got 90% participation from the employees, which is well ahead of the 75% that Vivera typically has seen with first-year programs. These are devices that would be owned by the city and issued to employees, so it's not a giveaway or anything like that. It wouldn't be any different than tools that might be owned by the city or fire equipment that'd be owned by the city. They'd be issued and returned, and then if a city leaves employment. What this will allow us to do is we'll be able to do things to help further the well-being program, such as fitness challenges between departments or interdepartmental challenges or broad city challenges towards a particular goal, and it'll give us a mechanism to be able to track that. It is part of the well-being budget. The city has budgeted about $500 per insurance policy that we issue for the last 3 years, and this will be coming out of that allocation.
Excuse me, I object to this. Unless you're going to make this available for everyone who is in the Blue Zone program, then I don't think the taxpayers should be paying for a city type of this nature, especially the $100 bonus. I just don't think it's fair.
What's the $100 bonus?
If they complete the...
Employees in the first year of the program, if they completed enough activities to be able to get enough well-being points, they were eligible to receive a $100 bonus as part of the program.
I see it as becoming too much of a big brother type thing. And like I said, unless everyone who is involved in the Blue Zone thing is involved, then I don't believe the city alone should be, especially at taxpayer expense. My opinion.
Lon, could you, I'm sorry, were you going to say something?
Well, yeah, I mean, one of the things to keep in mind is that the intent of a well-being program is to reduce taxpayer expenses by reducing future health insurance cost increases. I mean, it's all designed around increasing the health of your workforce, and anything that you do to increase the health of your workforce pays benefits in reduced insurance premiums. It also pays benefits in increased productivity and reduced employee absenteeism from work. Everything that we're doing is based off of scientific research that's been done through Vivera, our contract operator. The reason our well-being committee has selected these different things is because they have been proven to work to help make your employees healthier.
Well, people are going to call in sick, whether they're sick or not, and just need a mental health day. And anybody who smokes or drinks to excess or does drugs and all, they're not. Well, I'm against this.
It's a voluntary program. Employees have the option of whether or not to participate. You know, we do have employees that use tobacco that are participating in the program. We offer a cessation program to help them to move on from that into another phase of their lives. I mean, we've tried to make the program as well-rounded as we can with the idea of helping people be healthier and reducing costs in the future. It usually takes around 3 to 4 years to really start to see the benefits of it on your bottom line health insurance.
I think in this instance, you have to look at this city as an employer, like other. Well, let me finish what I'm saying. Like other employers, large companies, they all have wellness programs because they see the benefit of having a healthy employee force, because it does affect the bottom line. So you have to look at the city in this case as an employer with this, not as, as you're looking at it, but that's my opinion.
The problem is, though, Rockwell doesn't depend on the taxpayers to subsidize their stuff, and neither does any other big employer. However, the city does, and this is what I object to.
Okay.
What I was going to ask, Lon, is that I know, we've gotten some calls on it. Is there something that you could show for our insurance rate of what it would have gone up to by not instituting something like this? Is there a comparison chart that you can give us that will show that? So when people say, why are we doing this? It's like that'll level off our insurance rate. Instead of it doing this, it'll stay level. Is that something you could put together?
Vivera has data that shows the impact of robust well-being programs on insurance rates in the future. For us as an employer, it'll take about 3 years to start really showing up in our rates. A big part of what you try to do with a program like this is to try to address chronic conditions and identify chronic conditions before they become that way. So if you can interdict somebody who's got prediabetes but hasn't been to the doctor for 3 years and identify that and help them to manage it through diet and exercise rather than having to depend on insulin and doctor's visits, you can save an average of $16,000 a year on that employee. The same thing in future health care costs. If you can work with somebody to help them stop using tobacco, you can expect to save $13,000 per year on that employee's future health care costs after, I think it's age 53. There are very, very dramatic changes and big savings realized by doing it and doing it right. That's why we brought in a partner from the outside who does this nationwide and is one of the leading firms in well-being.
The savings benefit whom?
The savings benefit the taxpayers because the employee benefits go directly to the employee benefits property tax levy.
Right. That's
You can't
what I would like to.
disassociate the two. You got to make that connection. Yes, the taxpayers are paying this $19,000, but the taxpayers have the potential to save thousands and thousands more by
we'll save more than
having
that
a healthier workforce.
on 2 employees that either quit smoking or that we catch before they develop diabetes.
Right. That's what I'm talking about as far as a comparison. What is this going to save the city?
Have they looked into other tracking devices? I mean, obviously in the past there have been tracking devices for companies to put their employees on a cost-saving situation to get themselves better fit, and it didn't cost. Perhaps it didn't cost the $19,000 plus the $1,500 for the $100 bonuses.
15,000.
Yeah, Vivera their system can connect with, I think, 8 or 9 different devices that are out there in the market. The Wellbeing Committee did a lot of research on the capabilities of the different devices and came back with the recommendation that this one was really the one that best met our needs.
Will it have voice prompt to tell you to get off the couch and go walk?
This committee is made up of who?
It's an employee-based committee. We have representation from all the different departments. One of the challenges for a group like ours is that you have employees that do so many different tasks that you really have to have a broad-based well-being committee to make sure that you're doing things that will help all the different departments.
Is that committee tracking things now?
Yes.
Anything else?
Yeah, actually, yes. In the memo that we got about a brownfield tax credit application, and there's something in here that really bothers me. Indication that the city was willing to sponsor the project financially. I don't think we're in a position to sponsor anything financially. I think we should finish off things that have been started.
What are you addressing?
I'm addressing the memo that we got from at the that was attached to all the agenda items.
Okay.
And I just feel that, if in fact what John Nealon said about being $57 million in debt is valid, then I think that maybe the city it would behoove the city to get some of this stuff paid off rather than keep adding. Just my opinion.
Very well. Anything else?
You know what? I want
Yeah,
to just ask one more question about the Fitbit compared to like your smartphone. Did you guys look into that?
Well, part of the difficulty that you have is thinking about like employees in the public service department. It's easy for them to wear a Fitbit while they're out and about, but sometimes a smartphone might be in mortal danger if it falls out of a pocket or something like that. Not everybody has a smartphone. The city doesn't issue smartphones to all employees. A lot of the line staff out there, for example, do not have city-issued phones, so that really wasn't an alternative for us. We wanted something that really could be universally used amongst all the different departments. And to address that other issue, candidate Nealand is correct in the amount of debt that we have, but I will point out that right now our debt service levy is actually lower than it was 20 years ago. And if you look at the Marion of 20 years ago, with our bonding capacity versus what it was now, the proportion of debt has gone up, but you can't do projects like a police station without taking on something like that. It's simply too large of a project. The other thing that I would point out is that $15 million of that is the refinance bond that we did almost exclusively to benefit the school districts. We didn't have to do that. And if we hadn't done that, that number would have been substantially lower. But those projects will move through, and they are being paid off. We're paying off $5 million a year in debt, and our schedules moving forward don't really call for us to issue debt in those kind of numbers in the future. So it will steadily decline. We also set up the police station bond so that the payments on that actually increase a bit in future years. It's not one where it's the same amount every year. They kind of escalate a little bit. The reason we did that is because we wanted the people that live in Marion 20 years from now to be paying for that. We didn't want to put it all on the backs of the existing property owners, so we're trying to take advantage of the growth that the community sees in the future to help pay for that. The last thing that I would point out related to that is that if you look back, historically, we were dramatically underfunding our infrastructure. We hear about streets all the time. The reason that we hear about streets all the time is that we went through a period of time where we were not investing enough back into our infrastructure to take care of what we had, let alone keep up with what was being constructed. And there simply is no way to do more streets without spending more money.
Well, Lon, I think you need to look at the population change too. It's a huge item.
Yep.
Thank you.